After the emergency demolition of 451 Powell Street, 10 seniors were evicted from the neighboring building. In a neighborhood where neglect is widespread, the future of one of Vancouver's oldest buildings is raising old tensions.
Well, the Ming Sun building is an interesting building because it's actually a building built in 1890. And then its history is basically a hotel until 1902. It becomes a rooming house for Japanese men, primarily. And in 1906, the Yoshida family buys it, and they own the building from 1906 right through until the 1940s. Of course, it gets expropriated by the government when they took enemy alien property during World War II. It's gone through a number of different owners, and then the Ming Sun Society has owned it since the 1970s. Continuous use with residential upstairs and commercial activities on the ground floor.
After 451 Powell Street was demolished, engineers were brought into number 439 next door, also known as the Ming Sun Building, to assess its structural integrity.
When the building first had some difficulties, there was a brick wall that was quite unsafe, as well as another facade. And so that was the portion that we'd actually ordered to be taken down.
That demolition of the 1904 building did cause some damage to the bricks. Not structural damage, but that's another misunderstanding because I think people thought it was a brick building. In fact, it's actually a wooden building with a brick wall on the outside.
They did not secure the site. We understand that they had difficulties with money, and so they couldn't do it. So the city actually had to order it and do it themselves.
Right before the building was due for inspection, the water pipes burst, causing extensive flooding damage.
There's a flood likely caused by cold weather when we had this cold snap, because the building was unsecured by Ming Sun, that the pipes broke and there was a major flood.
This wasn't pipes freezing. This wasn't water in the system that suddenly burst. This is actually deliberate vandalism of somebody breaking into the building, smashing the pipes, and then actually going and turning the water on.
Beyond the physical damage, the building became victim to vandals and thieves.
Friends of 439 is working to restore and also protect the building from further destruction. Part of that involves recognizing the heritage value of the building. Part of that also involves setting up a community defense team to prevent further vandalism of the building.
You know, breaking into, stealing the wiring from the building, stealing, you name it.
The Ming Sun building was considered structurally safe before the neighboring building was torn down. If the time had been taken to step back and consider the possible repercussions of the emergency demolition, then this sequence of events might have played out differently.
Because this is not just the story of a building, it's a story of the displacement of people with less power.
The primary concern of the City of Vancouver is to make sure that the site is safe. All we want to do is make sure that the building doesn't fall onto the sidewalk and hurt somebody, which is now done. It's a privately owned building. And if they wish to save it, we're all for it. But you have to do the work. We can't do it for you.
And also just not understanding cultural sensitivities. And I think that's been one of the biggest disappointments, is that in dealing with the Chinese seniors, nobody took a second to just pause and think, how do I deal with a group of Chinese seniors? And how do we show respect, and how do we work with them?
Whether it was a simple misunderstanding or a miscommunication between different cultures, the fate of the building still remains in question.